Excellent. Yes. Okay, so let's get going. Hi, I am Tara Swigert, and I help makers and artists feel awesome about their business and become the best expert in their business. And one of the questions that I get often, that I know that a lot of people struggle with, is there enough of a market for the product that I sell? What if I'm trying to sell something too niche? And or what goes along with this is, what if, does my product suck? Is that why I don't have sales? Because my product sucks. And that is a big question. Abby Glassenberg just recently wrote a post about this, and she emailed me before she wrote it. It was a discussion that started in her Facebook group, that she says, why don't more people tell, sometimes a product just sucks, and people don't have people aren't honest about telling people, hey, sometimes your product just sucks. So instead they tell you, take better pictures, write better descriptions. And she started to ask people, like, why is no one telling you? Sometimes your product just sucks. And she sent me an email and asked me, what do I think about, like, maybe there's not enough of a market for it, or maybe your product just isn't good enough. And so I wrote her back. She quoted me a little bit in the article, which you can find at Abby Glassenberg, or if you're just look up what if your product is the problem, and I'll go in and tweet that with the hashtag SwiggerLive as soon as we're done here so you guys can see it. And if you're watching the YouTube video, it'll be linked below in the description. But that issue, I have a lot to say, kind of a different perspective of Abby, because Abby's has the experience of creating a product that was like, had to be too high priced for the market where she was trying to sell it. Yes, that's the name of it. What if your product is the problem? Exactly. So she had the issue of having a product that was the problem in her sales, because in order to sell it at a high enough price, she had to sell it at certain galleries and not to the market she wanted to reach. And so someone on Periscope is asking, how do you know if it's your product and not an oversaturated market? That's what I'm going to talk about here in just a second. So that's kind of the underlying question I'm replying to. And I sent a bunch of points to her, and I wanted to talk about it with you guys because I feel like we don't talk about this enough. So first of all, my first reaction is, if you're, people often say to me, my product isn't good enough. My product isn't enough. There isn't a market for my product. That's the thing I hear a lot, right? It's the market's fault. There's an oversaturated market. There's not a big enough market. My market is telling me not to make my product. It'll never sell. And to that, I say, usually you're coming to that conclusion long before you've actually done the work of reaching the market. So the question of, is there a big enough market for your product, or does your product suck? And are you guessing that based on the market's reaction? Normally people come to that conclusion long before they've put in the work to actually figure it out. So I'm hesitant to tell anyone there's not a market for their product, or that their product sucks before, and that's the reason they don't have sales, before they've actually done the work of reaching out to the market. And that includes improving your product all the time based on feedback you get from people who would truly spend the money to buy your kind of thing. Yes, and what somebody said on Periscope is, are you researching your market or making an unfounded conclusion? Exactly. So what you need to do is look at what you've done to reach people so far, and usually that's not enough. Yes, and the second point, as someone just put it in Periscope, is constant improvement. You constantly want to be making your product better and better based on the feedback you're getting. And how do you know if you're researching your market, if you're trying to reach your market enough? And that is simply, have you thought about who is going to buy your thing, and have you figured out if they're out there? Now, it doesn't matter how specific and weirdo your item is. Several of you guys who are watching me live on Periscope have super weird, super specific, or super luxurious things, and you found a market of people who are really into them. So you can research your market by looking on Amazon. Are there people writing and selling and buying books that are the kind of people who would buy your product? You can also look at Who else? Is there a market? Are other people selling your kinds of products? If so, then there's a market for it, or else other companies wouldn't spend time and energy marketing if there's no marketing for it. Somebody asked me on Periscope how to get honest feedback, and we'll talk about that in a second. So the first thing is do enough to actually reach your market before you start thinking that there is no market. The second thing is you need to be honest with yourself about what you mean by enough of a market. If you want to have a multi-million-dollar business selling what you make, then you need a much bigger market, a much less specific and tiny niche market than if you want to replace your day job salary or make $100,000 in sales or something smaller than that. You can have a super niche market and make several $100,000s in sales, because there's enough of those people and they're willing to pay for it. So that is what you want to keep in mind, is what kind of business do you want and how big of a market do you need in order to support that, and what does your item cost? How many people, and this is specific math, how many people would you need to have buy your product in order to reach your sales goals? Often that number is teeny tiny. Often it's like you need 1,000 or 5,000 people a year, especially if you offer different products and people buy multiple products. Maybe you need 10,000. That's a super small slice of all of the people who are even in your own country, let alone all of the people in the world. But if you have an online business, that's who you're meeting. So do not be afraid to get super, super niche and talk specifically to that person, which is all goes back to marketing. And my book, Market Yourself, which you can find at tarasweiger.com/book, talks all about what I mean by finding who your people are and then actually talking to them and translating your benefits or your features into their benefits. And so that's what you want to think about, is what size market is actually enough. So in the instance of like a really high-end, fancy, beautiful thing people are going to buy and put on their shelves, like a piece of art, or in Abby's case, like these beautiful handmade birds, she just needed to find the people who are willing to pay that and get her thing in the place where people would be willing to buy it. So that takes us to our second question, which is, once you know who the people are that are going to buy it, or you just have a general idea, right? Like they're knitters who love color work, or they're people who are into geeky art, or they're people who love handmade yarn enough that they're willing to pay a higher price for it. Once you know who those people are, ask yourself, are you willing to do the work to find those people? So some people's idea of a dream business is going to their weekly farmers market and selling their goods there. If that's the case, then the market you sell is the product you sell, and if there's a big enough market, is going to be determined by what your local community is. So if you really want to sell at your local farmers market and you're hoping to make sales there, then yes, you might need to change your product so it fits that market. But if you are super excited about a product and it doesn't sell well at your local farmers market, then you need to realize that's not the place for you to sell it, and to find a different market to sell it at. That could be online, that could be in local galleries, that could be in local boutiques, that could be in boutiques across the country or internationally. So how much work are you willing to do to find that customer? If you have to have them locally because that's the kind of business you want to build, then absolutely you need to change your product, and your product is the problem. If you are selling online, then obviously the people are probably online, but how do you find them? And are you willing to do the work to tap in to that small slice of the population who are the weirdos who are going to buy your product? If you're not willing to do the work to find them, then here's something to think about. Changing your product won't fix that, because if you make a product that is super, like anybody in the world could buy it, like pastel baby blankets or unoffensive home decor pillows, everybody's making that. Target's making that, Walmart's making that, everybody is making that kind of product. And so you won't have to do the work of finding a really small slice of the population. Instead, you'll have to do the work of standing out amongst all the other people who are selling that kind of thing. So your weirdo product can be the thing that helps sets you apart. You just have to do the work of finding the people. So this whole "is the market big enough" question, I feel like it's kind of the wrong question to ask. Instead, the question is, how big do you need your market to be, and are you willing to do the work of finding them? Now, that is kind of tied into, does your product suck? which is kind of how this conversation on Facebook with Abby started, is the product good enough to actually reach people and inspire people to buy? And the answer to that, I find, is usually if a person is making a subpar product or just a not very interesting product, they will usually give up on it long before it ever really becomes a concern that they're talking to me, that they're hiring somebody to talk about their business with. However, because they won't get very far with a subpar product, and the people who are really dedicated to having a business will do the work of continuous improvement and make their product better, make it stand out more, make it more unique. So I hate to tell anybody, no, your product is just not good enough, you need to do better, because usually in the course of building a business, they will make it better if they're committed to it. So many people think, oh, I'll sell this thing I make, and they're not at all committed to either making the product better, writing interesting descriptions, taking good enough photos, and so they're not really invested in building a business. And so I don't need to tell them, hey, your thing sucks, because they are going to get discouraged and stop soon. But if you are dedicated to building a business, be dedicated to listening to feedback from your customers. Your customers aren't going to tell you that it sucks. They're going to tell you what they love about it, and they're going to tell you what you can do to improve it. So then do that. And that's how you get away from a product that isn't good enough, is by continuously working on it. Now, as for getting honest feedback, someone asked that earlier on Periscope, I heartily suggest talking to the people who would buy your thing. So if you sell kids' toys to moms who are into Waldorf and natural materials, then find some of those moms. Those might not be your friends, your family, your parents, your significant other. They might be at the local Montessori school, right? Take some of your toys and ask if you can donate some toys, and ask them if you can get some feedback after a week or two of the kids playing with your toys. If you sell knitting patterns, get some test knitters to give you feedback. If you sell services, do your service for free a couple times or for a super low price. And part of the low price is not just that you're giving it away, but that you're getting feedback from the people who you're giving the service to for free. So does that help answer your questions about honest feedback? I really want you to focus on talking to the people who are going to buy your thing, and I want you to focus on what you want from your business. If you're willing to do the work to find the customers who are maybe a little harder to find, or if you're going to do something that kind of everybody would love, are you willing to do the work to stand out from it? If you are watching the YouTube video, you can ask me your questions at Tara Swagger on Twitter or Instagram. Hashtag it with Swagger Live so that you can talk with the community of people who are watching on both Periscope and YouTube. And if you're watching on Periscope, now is the time to ask your questions below, or, you know, in the comments. And I'll answer any questions you guys have on this topic. And thank you for the hearts. I appreciate it. No more questions about your product, finding your market. Thank you for all the hearts. I love it. Thanks, guys. So I think that's it then. If you have more questions about this, ask me on Instagram or Twitter at Tara Swagger, hashtag at Swagger Live, and share what you're working on while you watch. I love to see that. If you have no idea who your right person is or what tools you're going to use to reach them, check out my book. I have worksheets to walk you through kind of all this. It's taraswagger.com/book. And with that, because I don't see any more questions, I will talk to you guys tomorrow. We are going to talk about, oh crap, I forgot. I think what to do with unsubscribes. How to feel about unsubscribes from your email list. Do you consider coaching products too? Coaching is like services, but you still have all the same questions. You need to find the people who want to buy the services, and you need to really communicate in their language. Talk to them about their pain points. Why are they buying coaching? People don't just wake up and decide they want life coaching or business coaching or whatever coaching you're doing. They wake up and have a problem and they think, who can help me solve this problem? How can I find the answers quicker and more easily and more organized than if I just do a bunch of random Google searches? So that is the question your marketing should answer. And then if you need to get some feedback, offer your service, your coaching, to people at a discounted rate with the agreement that they will then fill out a feedback form. And there's lots I could say about like a feedback form, but you want to ask them not was it good, but what was your problem? Did it help you solve your problem? How did it help you solve your problem? And then use those as testimonials to reach more of your people. I hope that helped, guys. I super appreciate you being here. Let me know, share it with your friends, follow me on Periscope if you don't already, because we'll be back with another business lesson tomorrow, and it will be about how you should feel about unsubscribes. I'm 90% sure that's what we'll talk about tomorrow. Yay, thanks guys. Have a really great day, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye.